There's a lot that has been happening on Twitter, where people are asking, where is the church? Yeah. They're saying the church is not talking about this the way they talk about LGBTQ and IA. There are more, letters to it. And they're like, is it that this is not a matter that is affecting them? As a young person, where do you think you come in as the body of Christ in this conversation? Now that it's so important for Gen Zs to step in and actually say, this is affecting us. This is going to affect my job. It's going to affect my income. I'm stepping into the job market. Where do you stand as a young person?
Okay, so because we're talking about the church's response to what has been happening, I'll speak also as a Christian Gen Z, not just a Gen Z, but a Christian Gen Z. And for what I believe matters, what I stand for, is that I also know from the Bible itself that Jesus did not stand for injustice. John the Baptist did not stand for injustice. In fact, he tells the tax collectors, do not tax beyond that which is supposed to be taxed. So I do believe that also being a Christian does not mean that you're silent on these matters, but you also speak up when injustice is being done. And so when I think about the church's response, as I was talking with my fellow panelists here, I also think I'm approaching it from this view that maybe most people who were led to believe that Ruto as our president came as kind of a savior, someone who belongs to our religion. And so we were like, personally, I was joyed. I had a lot of joy. I was like, this person will probably do what is right because he's subject to God's authority. He'll probably do what is right. And so I was viewing it from the point that maybe the silence is also from a perspective of the church grieving, because we are also like, was this the wrong choice? And I compared it to the story of Saul, the king. Saul was anointed by Samuel, and Samuel was the voice of God during that time. And God told Samuel that I have rejected Saul as king when he failed to do what was right. So he told Samuel, I have rejected Saul as king. Go and deliver this message to him. And so Samuel goes before Saul very fiercely and says that you are not going to be king over the Lord's people anymore. But when Samuel retreated, you see he's actually in grief. And so I was also relating it to now what is happening. The church might also be in grief because we believed in this government. Yeah.
Okay. So I know Jeremy would want to jump in on this, and Dan as well. Acha ni spare pasi, sijui kuhusu pasi, but hey, unajua hapa kidogo lazima utime kitu unaenda kusema. You must be very aware lest you find yourself being cancelled online, But Dan, I'd like you to comment on the same. As a believer, where do you stand on the same? And then we'll come to Jeremy because nataka kukuwe na a flow kidogo. I'd like you to comment on, there's now the whole aspect. Of course, now we are having professionals talking about we get why the taxes are increasing, because we need to reduce on our IMF debts and World Bank debts and all these things. So as Dan comments on that, you can add your spice to it as well. But I'd like you to jump on that one because, hey, he was passionate offline. Guys, yeah. Yes, Dan.
Yeah. Oh, for me, I think I'll just speak from where Linus started, whereby for me, throughout my life, I've been in the church. Throughout my life, I've been blessed by God to be in leadership positions. So, as the church being silent, if I decide to personalize it, it's like reflecting. Okay, I'm reflecting in terms of some of our leaders. There are people that throughout their campaigns, we saw them in the church, we saw them praying, we saw them like very spiritual people. And when I saw them, I saw me. but the decisions they're making now, it leaves me in the situation of I'm reflecting as the church. I am reflecting. If I was in this position, if I was the president, if I was the MP, would I be silent? Would I do the same thing? Would I subject the people who chose me to be their leader to do so? And in terms of the question on the debts, uh, I read an article that was saying the situation that we are in right now, it's we are in so much debt that we don't have power of our policies, such that even though us the Gen Zs go to the street to fight for our rights, there's someone who's pressuring the government because we gave you this money. These are the taxations that are supposed to be given. This is what you're supposed to do. So even if we cry, we do whatever, they are also facing pressure from another side. And unfortunately, they say money speaks. Us as the Gen Zs, we don't have that money. We're starting our career. So us, we are fighting with our votes. But there's someone who's giving the government money. There's someone the government is hoping is going to pay majority of the Kenyans' salaries. So probably that's the person who's giving them pressure such that our noise is not being heard. Our cries are not being heard.
So let me just pick up from where Dan has left. First of all, yes, I get we are in so much debt that, let me just say bluntly, like, we don't own ourselves as Kenyans. We don't own ourselves as Kenyans. But then it stems from accountability. We will pay these taxes, yes, but the money is not being paid off to the debts, to the debtors, the one who loaned us money, but it's being siphoned by our leaders to be kept, maybe for them to build their empires, for them to maybe take care of their children, their generation, the next generations. But this is talking from the point of a common mwananchi. The taxes that are being added, the taxes that are being placed on us, it's not quite adding up, because yes, we, just as I've said, we would pay this money, but the money is still being siphoned off somewhere else, and they are not being accountable for the people. These are people that are just thinking about themselves and not thinking about the generation that is to come. Maybe their generation is what they're thinking of, but what about each and every other person that is there? What about each and every other person that wants maybe a family, that wants to take care of themselves? We are starting.
Yeah.
Like, we are literally
Itabengia.
starting.
A starting line. Na bado
Manze,
kamba imesogeshwa.
manze,
Yes.
like, as in, if I just look at it, manze, mi niko shule, and I'm like, when do I start? Like, as in, tukiendelea, like, we are being subjected to poverty, manze. We are literally being subjected to poverty, and we have not even begun. Like, tunashikiliana hivi na wazazi, tuko kwa nyumba ya wazazi wetu. We are thinking of kuhama, lakini sasa ona pesa.
Yeah.
So it's just accountability. Accountability is the key point. Accountability is the key point. Wacha niachie hapo.
Hey, okay. Especially kwa hiyo point here, we are just starting. I think that's where young people are really feeling it. And I'd love to come back with Percy. Because let me tell you, we are about to go on a short commercial break and we have just started. But I'd love us to come back with Percy, with the whole conversation of some of the things that are within this finance bill. Because, at the end of the day, we can't just be saying rejects. and we are not pointing out that this is an issue. This is an issue. Aircraft parts, omission of VATs is an issue. So we want to get into that. Kindly square your points. Square your points. Gather them together like an inheritance, because we'll be coming back there. And of course, as young people who are tuned in, kindly continue with the hashtags, with the conversation. I'm sure they'll be running right below your screen. Continue the conversation with us on all our social media platforms, because we'd love to read what you have to say. And as young people, tusome bill, tusome finance bill. We cannot be fighting based on TikTok videos.
Yeah.
We need to have the content on our fingertips because it affects our lives. All right. So we are going on a short commercial music break. Short commercial break. And there's a music break, but we'll be right back after this break to continue the conversation.
Thank you for choosing Hope TV, the channel that brings you hope, entertainment, and inspiration. We value you and would like to serve you better. Talk to us by scanning this QR code on your screen or go to our social media page at Hope TV Kenya and click on the survey link by the name Hope TV Survey. It will just take a few minutes but means the world to us. We value your feedback. Hope TV, look and live.
Life is a school. If you're living, you're definitely going to learn lessons every day. However, some of these life lessons can be too costly. Coming soon on Hope TV is a brand new show called Expensive Lessons, where our guests narrate thrilling, exciting, sometimes even scary stories of their life's journey that have cost them a lot, but they have learned lessons that you and I can benefit from.
Personally, I don't think I'm keen on working with government again. We all know, we all read the papers, we've all seen the stories.
Sometimes we can reach a place and think that is our destination, but really it's not.
You definitely don't want to miss out on this thrilling classroom from the School of Life, only on Hope TV, where we look and live.
To get Wewe ni Mungu by Evelyn Wanjiru as your Skiza tune, SMS the word Skiza 88300028 and send to 811. Hope Skiza, spreading the hope.
Nakupa ibada ya moyo wangu usiku wa leo. Mimi nikujue, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, nikujue kila siku na kila saa, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Natamani nikujue kila siku na kila saa, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Natamani nikujue kila siku na kila saa, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Yafumbue macho yangu, nielewe neno lako, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Yafumbue macho yangu, nielewe neno lako, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nifundishe njia zako, nitazishika hadi mwisho. Nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nifundishe njia zako, nitazishika hadi mwisho. Nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. nikujue, nikujue, nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Nikujue, 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 nifahamu moyo wako, niongozwe na Roho. Niongozwe na Roho. Niongozwe na Roho. Niongozwe na Roho. Niongozwe na
Yes. All right. We are back on air. We are back to having this conversation tonight. Today is kidogo hata nimelose track of dates. Today is 21st of June 2024 and we are having conversations that matter for our generation and generations to come. And of course, if honestly kama miss the first part, kindly rewind to catch up with us as we continue with the conversation. Na tulikuwa tumesema tunaenda kuanza na pasi. Right? Ndio utuambie as a clergy member, ama ni clergy, as the clergy, you know, there's this hashtag that is going around Occupy churches, and their target date is 23rd of this month, meaning it's kesho kutwa, this coming Sunday, you know, and they want churches to be bold about this conversation. Now, of course, there are those whose ideologies are not right towards the church.
That's right.
Because they feel like the church is betraying in not having these conversations. Wanasema, you're closing doors to protesters,
Yeah.
opening doors to other people, maybe the police.
That's right.
While we are seeing other religions opening doors to protesters, providing healthcare, providing water and food. Pasi, as clergy, kindly come in, weigh in.
Thank you so much, Pendo, for this time that you've given me. First of all, I want to commend the Gen Zs. I mean, what the bravery they showed us in the streets is something we have not seen for a long time in this country. Personally, I'm a millennial, and we are kind of getting jealous. You know, some of the Gen Zs that I pastor are telling me, Pastor, you must go to the streets. You have to go to the streets, and I think it's a democratic right, you know, to go to the streets, exercise. There is rights to, you know, how do they call it? What's the picketing? Is that the word? And but I don't know. Even before I respond to that question, it's important maybe to just pick it up from where my friend left it. There's just a statistic here that I saw somewhere, and I thought it's worth for us to actually zoom into. It concerns revenue collection. The target for the Kenyan government is for them to collect 23 billion US dollars. That's the KRA target. Now, it's interesting that what the Kenyan government wants to collect is actually equal to 3 East African countries. That is Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda. For example, Tanzania annually collects 12.5 billion US dollars. Uganda collects 7.5 billion US dollars. Rwanda collects only 2.5 billion dollars. But Kenya where there is a high rate of unemployment, where there is a high rate of people paid peanuts. We are collecting 2.3 billion. So there is an issue, and I'm honestly calling out our president. It's not business as usual. You know, these Gen Zs have not come to play games. Sisi maybe the millennials waliogopa. Nimesikia Gen Z fulani akisema anaogopa tear gas hapa lakini but I'm telling you, these guys are not coming to play. So now, if you're collecting a whooping 23 billion US dollars, why can't you first account for the money that you are already collecting? Why do you want to increase the burden on common mwananchi when you are not accountable for the money that has been lost? The previous regime, a president, it's okay for me to call out his name, a former president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. One day aliulizwa, how can we put accountability on the money that has been lost? And this is what he says in public, in media, in mainstream media. He says this, I quote him, he says, "Monataka nifanye nini?" A whole president who has been given power by the citizens of the nation to lead them towards a prosperous destiny. He's actually saying he has no powers to call out the people that are corrupt in this nation. The deputy president then is currently our president. We want to call out the president. We want them to know that I'm a young preacher, but we want them to know that we cannot accept this. We cannot accept to pay more taxes if we cannot account for the taxes that we are already paying.
Yes.
So I kind of feel like from a clergy perspective, I wish I was a Gen Z. I really wanted to say a Gen Z clergy, but unfortunately, I'm a millennial. But we are calling you out. We want accountability. We pay a lot of money in taxes, but where does this money go?
Yeah.
Billions are lost every single day. So paying more taxes will not result to us living a better life. The first thing we need to do, first of all, call out the people where the money is getting lost. Where is the money? Let's close the holes.
Yes.
Before we can collect more taxes. Let us sort out the taxes that we are already giving.
And it's so interesting
Yeah.
when you talk about accountability, because off air we were talking of how nations such as Singapore and a couple of other,
Yeah.
countries have been able to do without this IMF debts. They've been able to pull themselves up and they're doing very well right now. And Percy was really highlighting how Singapore had come to...
For benchmarking,
Yeah.
they came to benchmark in Kenya.
Yes.
They still, after how many years since independence?
Kadha wa
Since
kadha.
1963,
Yes.
Kenya is still categorized as a third world country. Singapore is a first world country. It came for benchmarking in Kenya. Let our leaders be accountable. Why is Kenya still impoverished?
Yes.
So many years after independence, we have a lot of resources. The best brains,
Yes.
are in this country. Human resource, you get the person who invented M-Pesa, an initiative that is impacting the rest of the world.
Yes.
Is from Kenya. If we begin calling out people that are from Kenya that are very resourceful, if we begin to talk about the oil, if we begin to talk about the natural resources, we cannot even finish the conversation, So I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Yeah.
Dana kona point inamwasha kama hiyo maji ya.
Iniwashi, but it's a whole aspect of it's not one party that is supposed to be held accountable. Yes, you as our leader, you as our MP, our MCA, you should be accountable, but also me as a Gen Z, I should be accountable to who I'm going to put into that position as a leader.
Yes.
Yeah.
So every time, like during their campaigns, when they are saying, this is what I'm going to do to you, kindly go and check, is this around his power? Is this one of the roles that he's allowed to do? Because someone can't promise me to build for me a road, but he's not involved in building the road. You understand? And also we need to be accountable in terms of when the time comes to vote, we go there to vote. I read a statistic somewhere. I don't know how factual it was, but what it insinuated is during our last election, the people who are rioting right now, the people who are on the streets right now, it's the majority of the people who did not vote.
Wow.
So
Wow.
did we let ourselves down then that we're regretting right now when we're in the streets? And should we plan to fix it the next time? Because accountability goes both ways.
Wow.
Yes, let's blame the leaders,
Absolutely.
but me as a Gen Z, I should also blame myself for the role I played. For me, honestly, some of the people I voted into power, I didn't read their manifestos. Even
Wow.
my MP, may I just
You're
was like,
confessing.
I know this guy, let me just put it.
Yeah.
But next time, me, I'm reading so that I can't go into the streets. Yeah.
And kwanza
Wow.
the topic we're having today is return to Caesar. So kuna hiyo scripture yenye I think tumerefer to it this month because we were talking a lot about finances. And we were saying return to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. But then now we want to create an understanding and draw a line for young people, those who are tuning in tonight,
Yeah.
you know, for them to actually say, hey, hii yenye inaenda kwa Caesar
Yes.
yeah?
Yeah.
Imekatwa vizuri ama tuko huku tuna you know you are paying something and it's somehow going into the skies, you know, and then you find out your leader has built such a lavish home. They have an aircraft on standby. By the way, it's very expensive.
It's so unfortunate that there was a statistic I was seeing somewhere that a public servant that has held office for a period of 10 years is paid 600,000 per month. And if you calculate that per year, that turns out to be 7.2 million shillings. 10 years, that's 72 million shillings.
Yes.
When they are asked to declare their wealth, the value of their wealth is 3 billion shillings. It is good for us as a country to be accountable. Where have you gotten the money? When you came into office, you literally had nothing. After 10 years of leading, you have 3 billion in terms of value, the known, quote unquote, because possibly you're worth more than that. So I think, but again, you mentioned something, Osoro mentioned something that's very critical. Many people that are holding placards, Akina Jeremy Abba, most of the people that are going to the streets, have you actually read the financial bill? This is something else that we want to call out our pastors in our local assemblies to do. Bring experts. Because personally, I read it. There are clauses that I actually had to consult a legal advisor to interpret them for me. The same thing we do as clergy. You can read the Bible and not understand what it says. You need some scriptures explained to you the same way, the financial bill, the constitution. Let us have forums in our churches as Christians where we don't open the Bible. We open the constitution and read it religiously. We open the finance bill. Let us be explained point after point after point. Ndo tukienda pale, we demonstrate, we actually know what you're saying. Because the truth is, uliza wase wengi. Mbona unarusha mawe? Mbona una complain? Mbona unateta? Mpaka wameanza kusema waongezewe, waekewe mint kwa hiyo.
Because now we feel like we're being undercut. You know, something is happening somewhere and it's not really making sense. And hey, let me tell you, tonight has flown so quickly. We don't have a lot of time. But we have seen young people going to the streets, especially Gen Z. And I know there are clips that will be running on air about that. But I'd like to hear from you, Tuanze na Mrembo, because she's the only one on this bench. Yes? So, ni nini kinakukwaza? In 1 minute.
For me, because a lot has been mentioned, but I'd like to focus on the tax that has been proposed for digital content monetization. And you see, this is a space that young people are really looking forward to having their presence there, because if you look at the job market, there's still so many a large part of the older generation is still in the job market and not creating room for the younger people, the younger professionals to come into. So now digital content is something that we want to establish our presence in. And now the proposed tax that has been introduced, I believe it's 20% for non-citizens and 5% for residents. But you see, this is, like Jeremy said, we're just starting our life. We're trying to just make sense of life in itself. And then now this tax is being imposed on young people just trying to survive in such a harsh world and economic situations. So I think that's something that is really, yeah.
All right, all right. And I know we have about 3 minutes left for this conversation because it's about to clock 9. Imagine guys, hata bado sijasikia Dan na Jeremy wanakwazwa na nini about this financial bill, but we'll be coming right back to you guys. I know those who are watching on TV, we might continue with yet other programs that are very entertaining, but I'd like us to also continue with this conversation on YouTube because I'd love to hear ni nini kinawakwaza exactly about the finance bill. So kindly, after we finish with the live on TV, we are continuing on YouTube. Turuhusu. Yes, thank you very much. So you can just continue with us on YouTube and all our social media platforms and continue talking to us because we want to hear from you. Yes. So Jeremy.
Yes, guys.
Yes.
guys. Anyways,
It's your time to shine.
Okay. So before he speaks, I'd just like to thank you. Thank you very much for tuning in and having this conversation with us. It is a conversation that must continue every day, every night, because these are matters that affect us as young people, as millennials, as boomers. Everybody is being affected by this story. So kindly keep in touch with us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Keep chatting with us. And this conversation is continuing after the TV goes off. All right. My name is Pendo. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This is YT Nation. Yes.